Hello, everybody.
He's a veteran in the mold, more of Roger Dorn, but I view him more as, after being with him for years, more of a Jake Taylor type, to use that analogy, from Major League, in that he's been excellent with our young players, great experience, works his butt off every single day in the facility, and has just been outstanding, and an outstanding addition for us, and someone that I didn't really know a year ago when he came in here. Just his work ethic, his passion for the game, and the fact that he desperately wants to win for obvious reasons, and that he's willing to spend as much time as any young player wants in helping them, work through their start to their career or various challenges in their career, even if they're older players on our team, using his own experiences from his career from junior and long time in the NHL. So we're fortunate to have him and have him around here for another season.
This is very interesting to hear from Kyle Dubas today, talking about making the team tougher to play against. It's interesting. It's something that I've never really heard Kyle Dubas talk about, making the team tougher. But there's a lot of different ways to make a team tougher. The Carolina Hurricanes, for example, are a very tough team to play against. They don't have anybody that's big and bruising, or that necessarily scares you in terms of physical toughness, but they are a very tough team to play against. They're very organized in their own zone. They're organized in the neutral zone. They play a very tight defensive game. So it's interesting to see Kyle talk about adding some elements to the team that make them tougher to play against. I don't think he's necessarily talking about what people have been talking about in the offseason in terms of adding a Wayne Simmons. I think a guy like Radko Gudas might be a good option. I don't think he's going to be very expensive for the Leafs to sign. But it's going to be interesting to see how they make this team tougher to play against. There's been a lot of developments. It seems like today's the type of day where business in the NHL is really picking up. Today's a Monday and tomorrow's the draft. So you're seeing a lot of signings in and around the NHL. Very interesting signings as well. The Leafs did sign Jason Spezza today. Personally, I'm happy for him. He's a Toronto boy, and he has obviously some sort of he has an attachment to the idea of having success in Toronto, which a lot of Toronto boys do. Mitch Marner, JT, and John Tavares being another guy. So, personally, as a fan, I'd love to see him have some sort of success. See the team have some sort of success. But it's a smart signing. He's a $700,000 contract. You can bury him anytime you want to bury him. If you need to make roster room. If you need to make room on the roster for somebody younger, more talented, so it's a low risk signing. But yeah, speaking of defensemen, Andre Sekera signs with the Dallas Stars at $1.5 million. Justin Braun, 1.8. Overall, you can see that if the Leafs want to make their defense better, which they definitely do, and they want to be harder to play against, going out there and signing guys that are good in their own zone is not a very expensive thing to do. You don't necessarily need to go out and spend so much money improving that defense. The Leafs can do it. They don't need to blow their brains out on Pietrangelo. I don't necessarily think the Leafs have the appetite to make the big moves that they need to make create cap space for someone like Pietrangelo at, let's say, $8 million or $8.5 million. But, it's going to be very telling what happens today and tomorrow, especially at the draft. If the Leafs end up making a couple of trades, especially if it's trades along the lines of Andreas Johnson and Kerfoot, and they end up opening close to $7 million in cap space, that will generally tip their hand in terms of where they're leaning, or what kind of moves they're leaning towards making when it comes free agency this week. Oh yeah. So I saw right here, there's a Twitter account, Andy and Rono. They do hockey statistics and advanced stats, and they create a lot of useful information charts on players and what they're worth and what their dollar value is, and if they've had positive or negative contributions to their team. And they put out a tweet where they say, confirmed there is a deal on the table between the Maple Leafs and pending UFA Radko Gudas, according to our sources. If Toronto will not sign Alex Pietrangelo or trade for any right-handed D-man, then Gudas will be a Maple Leaf. Gudas knows about the situation and has accepted it. So there's a tweet right there talking about a rumor linking the Leafs and Radko Gudas. Him being a left-handed D-man. If the Leafs end up adding multiple defensemen, left and right-handed, I think that will say a lot, or it'll tip their hand in terms of what they think about Sandin and Liljegren going forward. They may not necessarily be NHL ready, so the Leafs will have to have a backup plan. They cannot go into camp with Sandin and Liljegren penciled into the lineup and then have to erase their names and scramble to find somebody to take their place. Martin Marincin cannot be an NHL roster player for the Maple Leafs if they want to do anything significant this season. And based on the dates that we've seen, NHL is looking to start up anywhere between December 1st and January 1st. It doesn't give the Leafs a lot of time to restructure their lineup, but there's a lot of teams out there looking for good wingers and players that play multiple positions. A guy like Kerfoot can play center and wing. He was definitely more he was a better fit at center for the Maple Leafs. He was more effective at center, but he did play wing with guys like JT and Marner and Matthews, and he didn't necessarily look at a place. He's got a lot of speed. I can see teams like the Edmonton Oilers who do need wingers, and players like Detroit and New Jersey who definitely need centers and wingers to come calling for these players, and they got tons of cap space as well. So it'll be interesting. But, Kyle Dubas is a guy that thinks outside of the box, and for sure he's going to pull at least one move that's going to completely come out of left field. You guys can let me know what you guys think might be a move that comes out of left field. But I think, the type of move that would come out of left field for me, if I was thinking about something potential, what Kyle Dubas might end up doing would be to trade and open up significant cap space and not go after Pietrangelo. And you see players like Taylor Hall out there willing to take short 1 year or 2 year deals. And if you can get a Braden Point or a Patrick Laine cap hit, the Leafs might finally end up with that left winger that they've been dying to put on Matthews' wing with William Nylander. I think Hyman is definitely a better fit with Tavares and Marner. Both Tavares and Marner needs somebody on their line who can go and get the puck for them. Definitely Mitch Marner is not that type. He's not big enough. He's not strong enough to go into the boards and dig out the puck. He's got the speed. He's got the shiftiness, but I don't think he's got the tool set or the tools in the toolbox to be the kind of player in the playoffs that can go into the boards and dig out pucks and be super gritty. But he could always prove us wrong, right? So that is definitely an interesting rumor I just read right now on Twitter. Again, I'm just going to read this out for you guys. Confirmed, there is a deal on the table between the Maple Leafs and pending UFA Radko Gudas, according to sources. If Toronto will not sign Alex Pietrangelo or trade for anyone right-handed, then Gudas will be a Maple Leaf. Gudas knows about this situation and he has accepted it. So that's something I just saw on Twitter right now. It's very interesting. Something else. Hearing that the Devin Dubnyk trade to San Jose, as expected, has been completed and should be announced within the next hour. That from Pierre Lebrun. Yeah, San Jose getting a goalie. I think Devin Dubnyk is, probably an upgrade from Martin Jones. And actually, I saw a quote from Kyle Dubas today regarding Frederik Andersen. I'm just going to go get that now. Dubas says that the Leafs practice facility has been open for off-season workouts, says many team veterans have been in following phase 2 health protocols with regards to testing. That's a great little tidbit right there. Oh, Pittsburgh Penguins have put Jack Johnson on unconditional waivers for the purpose of a buyout. GM Rutherford has said he's going to open up cap space no matter what. And that is a horrible contract they need to get rid of. That is for sure. Terry Koshin of the Toronto Sun. Dubas says if the 15th pick is kept, selecting the player the Leafs deem best is the way to go. They will not draft based on organizational need. So I don't think that necessarily rules out a guy like a defenseman like Schneider. Based on the mock drafts that you look at and the prospect profiles that you may read online, there is a lot who say that at that spot, Braden Schneider, let me pull this up. Braden Schneider might be the best available D-man. Now, I personally have looked a lot into this kid. I watched a lot of his highlights. I read a lot from a lot of different people. Tony Ferrari from Dauber Prospects on September 30th said he doesn't press himself into offensive duties very often, though Schneider can be expected on a nightly basis. What makes Schneider special is the ability to prevent defensive zone entries and get the puck out immediately when the puck does get into his zone. Scott Wheeler from The Athletic writes, he uses his length and his strength well off the rush too, but is the biggest asset of his ability is to take away the time and space in the defensive zone, close out on the wall, win the puck battles, and advance the puck up the ice. Quick outlet passes. Mike Morreale of NHL.com on August 25th said the two-way right shot defenseman capable of playing the power play and the penalty kill with great competitiveness and smart. Schneider scored 42 points in 60 WHL games. Now that is, I can go on and on. Steve Cormianos from the Draft Analysis on August 10th said the hard-hitting blue liner with wheels and length for days. Schneider is a highly respected prospect in scouting circles who many feel deserves to be placed alongside Jake Sanderson and Jamie Drysdale in the debate for top defenseman for 2020 draft class. Wow. So yeah, we do see Dubas making comments regarding choosing the best player available, but the best player available could be Braden Schneider. It could be a left-handed defenseman, Noel Gunler. It could be Gooley. Hey, things could get crazy. Yaroslav Askarov could fall. I think, I don't know. It's going to be a crazy draft this year. I think it's going to be one of those drafts, when you look back at 2015, when you look back at some of these drafts and you think to yourself, how is this even possible? Like in 2015, Connor McDavid went first overall, Jack Eichel went second overall, Dylan Strome went third to the Phoenix Coyotes. And the Phoenix Coyotes had on the board Mitch Marner, Noah Hanifin, Ivan Provorov, Zach Werenski, Timo Meyer, Mikko Rantanen, Matthew Barzal, Kyle Connor. Now, you could see why some teams like the Phoenix Coyotes don't really progress in their rebuild. It's because of horrible picks like that. If I'm a GM and that's my scouting staff, they're all fired. They are all fired. How on earth did they not pick one of Mitch Marner, Noah Hanifin, Ivan Provorov, Zach Werenski, Mikko Rantanen went 10th in this draft? 9 teams passed on it. If the Leafs had Mikko Rantanen instead of Mitch Marner, wow. But it's, Mitch Marner is a great player as well. They definitely, at least, you got to hit on these picks. If you pick in the top 5 minimum, you got to hit on these picks. They got to be NHLers and they got to contribute. Now, the Leafs definitely got a player that's going to contribute at the NHL level with Mitch Marner, so they hit on that pick. But, the New Jersey Devils picked 6th, and they picked Pavel Zacha. And Ivan Provorov and Werenski and Mikko Rantanen and Barzal and all these guys were all available. I mean, for the New York Islanders to get Matt Barzal at number 16 is beyond ridiculous. But that's drafting. You think these guys who travel around and watch these players for days and days and days. So I'm just playing back a little bit of Kyle Dubas right now based on his media availability and the kind of questions they asked him and how he answered. So let's go to that.
We would like to be incredibly hard to play against. And yes, some of that does have to happen organically, but as our players continue to mature and grow, and I think the playoffs this year showed a number of teams that have a number of examples of that, of teams doing that with their own guys, sort of altering their mindset and having